Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you all had a good Thanksgiving. Today we're going to talk about Slack. I had a question posed to me the other day on our YouTube channel asking about Slack. And at the time I thought, boy, the price has just boomed after announcement of a potential acquisition by Salesforce. And the answer I gave back was, I own some Slack, but I don't plan to buy any more. I have done some additional investigation into this question, and we'll talk about this potential acquisition. We'll talk about what Slack does, how it can be helpful for businesses, some of the competition out there. We'll look at its stock price, and then in the end, I'll give you my opinion on whether I plan to buy more Slack. But before I get to that, I did a video the other day on Carrier. I hope you'll take a moment after you're done with this video to take a look at that. Carrier stands to make some significant money during the distribution of COVID vaccines. Now on to Slack. Slack is essentially a teamwork, collaboration, and communication software that helps companies collaborate and communicate better than email. Why is their interface better than email? Well, imagine that this graphic you can see now, each of those little squares is operating in its own little email chain, and you have all this communication taking place through your company with different people communicating, but not necessarily with the whole team. Now imagine that everyone starts to flow in that same channel. This is one of the big features of Slack. Teams operate in a channel, so now you give your channel a name, you assign all the people that will work within that channel, and then everybody can see the communication that takes place with everyone else. Not only that, but if a new team member is assigned to that project, they can easily go back and see all the communication that's already taken place on that project to get themselves up to speed. Slack offers a similar product called Slack Connect that will also allow companies to interface with other companies using channels as well. Now, the rumor that spread last week is that Salesforce is interested in acquiring Slack. At the time that rumor spread, Slack was valued at about $17 billion. Shortly after that rumor spread, Slack became valued at more than $21 billion. Salesforce is a cloud-based software company headquartered in the Bay Area in California. They provide a number of services. You can see some of those things that they do here. You can see how multifaceted they are. One of the things that they have in their system is something called chat. Salesforce purchased chat, I think, back in 2009, and it really has not been as effective as I think people would like it to be. And thus, Slack comes into play as a potential acquisition. Interestingly, back in August of this year, the Salesforce CEO, Mark Benioff, essentially said they weren't interested in any mergers and acquisitions during the rest of this year. A pretty good head fake. Now, when the rumor came about last week, it indicated that Salesforce and Slack were in serious talks and that the potential merger could be announced as early as next week. What makes the timing of this coming week important? Well, Salesforce is having the Dreamforce to You 2020 Reimagining Everything meeting, and the keynote address will be on December 2nd. That seems like a wonderful time to announce a potential acquisition. All right, let's just talk a little bit then about Slack and their stock. What you see before you is what the stock has been doing year to date. Nice undulating performance there. Lucky for all the people who bought into it, just a little more than $15 a share. I actually bought some back in May or so in that $28 range. And then when the price went down, I bought a little bit more. You can see in the summertime, the price peaked out at near $40 a share and then has been sort of undulating downwards up until last week when it took that massive sudden spike. If you're wondering why stocks increase suddenly like that when potential acquisitions are announced, let's just go over that briefly. So depending on how a company has been doing, the stock price may suddenly increase or may suddenly decrease when an acquisition gets announced. For companies that have been doing well, the acquiring company generally will be paying a premium for the acquisition target. Sometimes these premiums can be quite significant. For instance, when IBM bought Red Hat, they paid a 63% premium on the share price on the day that the acquisition was announced. Could an acquiring company be paying a premium on the deal and the share went up about 30%? Could that premium be more than 30%? Could it be as high as 60%? And thus, somebody purchasing Slack at $40 a share might still have some room to make money if the premium is more than 30%. Now, don't get me wrong, I have no insider information on how any of this potential acquisition may take place. I'm just trying to give you an example of why the stock price suddenly surges. Likewise, the acquiring company oftentimes will see a decrease in their share price, especially if the current stockholders are concerned about the amount of premium that they'll pay on the stock acquisition or company acquisition. Now, having said that, what else do I think about Slack and their potential acquisition by Salesforce or by any other company? I think Slack is a great acquisition target. They have approximately 7 million people using Slack. Now, that is paltry when compared to Microsoft Teams. However, Microsoft Teams was given away for free, and so you can see why 100 million people would be using Microsoft Teams. I think users of Slack are generally happy with the product that the company has created and with the way that it improves their business. What you see before you now are just some of Slack's users, some of which are very well known and others which are not as well known, and they are across multiple sectors of the economy. Now, one of the questions that each of us has to think about is whether Slack is a potential acquisition for any other company, and could there be a bidding war now that interest has been shown in acquiring this company? For instance, Amazon became a user of Slack earlier this year. Could Zoom be a potential rival in a bidding war for Slack? Zoom primarily does video conferencing, but might they be interested in using Slack to help their customers communicate even better within their businesses? What about Oracle? Might it be a rival in acquiring Slack? Again, I don't have any information that tells me that any of those companies are interested in acquiring Slack. I'm just giving you an example of how a bidding war could get started. So what do I think about purchasing more Slack? Well, $40 is definitely expensive for this stock. You can see it only hit that just briefly earlier this year. I think that if the price pulls back just a little bit, it dropped on Friday, 2 days after the leak went out that it might be acquired by Salesforce. I think that if it pulls back just a little bit from there into the $38 range or $37 range, I am definitely interested in purchasing more. I may even purchase just a little bit of it, just on the speculation that maybe the premium that the acquiring company pays will be much greater than $40. As I say in every video, do your own homework. Look into this and then decide for yourself what you think. I've given you an overview of what Slack does, why this acquisition may be beneficial to Salesforce, and some thoughts for you to consider about how the stock price may change in the near future. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. We'd love to have you subscribe to our channel. We have seen a nice increase in subscribers in the last 10 days or so. We really appreciate that. And until the next time, I will talk to you later.